Hello. Okay, so guys, welcome to the Gory Hole with me, your host, Gory B Movie.
And Muenster Cheese.
And this is my buddy, Muenster Cheese. Let me know, we've got a new microphone today, so let me know how everything sounds. Can you hear me? Can you hear this guy? Another guy? Scoot in, my friend. Scoot in. Do not be shy. Do not be shy. There are so many things for you to do. All right. Yes, a wild Tony has appeared. You know, you guys might think, who is this guy? I don't know this guy. But you do know him because he has been in many a chat here on the channel. So he is a old school gory holer. Scoot in, dude. I will not bite you that much. All right. So who do we got here today?
You sound great.
Everything's thanks, babe. Can you hear Tony? That was a wild Danny. So we've got a new microphone. I switched it up. We've got a Blue Yeti. So if you guys need it louder, if you need it quieter, this mic, it's super fancy. I can do all this stuff now. All right, who we got in the chat? We got my buddy Kevin from Haunted by Horror, Martin, the Anthropomorphic Fiend, Crystal Fear, my friend Robin, Spooky Primo, Fairpoint Station. There's a lot of you guys. Hey, Arkham Knight's here. Strange Monkey, Wickabear, TT Tables 2007, Razor Rex. Hey, Horror Addicts. I like that show. I like that show a lot. So, Tony, what brings you here?
You invited me here, so I showed up.
Thanks, dude. Hey, Jen's here. A little louder. You know what? I am happy to oblige. How's that? We got it a little bit louder. A little bit loud. Oh, and I'm going to turn it up here, too. We're going to just crank that up. Yeah! So that was loud. Hey, the mayor's here. Oracle 684 is here. So, Horror Hangouts. What is a Horror Hangout? If you are new here, Horror Hangouts is just me, now this guy, and all of you hanging out. There is no plan. There is no topic list. We're just going to talk about horror and see where it takes us. So you guys can ask me questions. You can ask Tony questions. I might ask you questions. This could get really personal really fast.
We have a lot of things to show you.
We do.
I think that's how it goes, right?
What?
The whole race.
We have such sights to show you.
That.
Yes. Very good. Hold on a second. Okay, so what should we talk about first? What have you been watching? That's a good place to start.
What have I been watching? Really haven't been watching a lot of horror stuff.
Why?
I mean, I just moved back to Washington, so...
So you could have listened to a horror audiobook on the drive up here.
And I did watch the Oscars replay.
That was nice of you.
Yes.
Yeah, I like what, I feel like that's kind of like that Crash Test Dummy song.
Yep. I was thinking Bop.
That too. But I'm just gonna call him Eminem or her Eminem or them Eminem. I actually don't know much about this person, so I'm not gonna assume anything. Anyway, Eminem wants to talk about Frankenhooker, and you know what? I would like to talk about Frankenhooker. I got this amazing shirt. My friend Robin has the same shirt. Got this at Crypticon last year. I love this movie. I'm gonna tell you guys something about this movie. You guys know that on my channel, I really, truly believe that a lot of B movies just don't get their credit. A lot of times they're passed off as cheesy, which we love cheesy, or they're passed off as being of lower quality or value, especially when we're in the age of supposedly elevated horror, which by definition claims to be above things like creature features and cheesy movies. But I think a lot of these movies are a lot better than the mainstream gives them credit for. One of those movies is Frankenhooker.
Yep, we watched that for Cheesy Movie Club, as a matter of fact. It was a great movie, actually.
Yes, it's cheesy, but it's also a satire. The humor is really intelligent. It's a good love story. And
it's a cheese fountain.
All the jokes in it are intentional, so it's not so bad it's good. It's just so damn good.
It's a cheese fountain.
It is a cheese fountain. And what is a cheese fountain?
So the cheese fountain is where you just have like good cheese followed by more good cheese and more good cheese, and it just keeps flowing. It just doesn't stop. And then you want to dip your little cheesy snack into it and have some more cheese.
I love that description. See, this guy's great. So yeah, absolutely. I love Frank Henenlotter. He really can do no wrong in my eyes. I love how much passion and work go into all of his films. None of them is a studio film. All of them are made because he wants to tell a story, and his stories are creative and fun. And I do think this movie is romantic, but I do think it has some great satirical comments on like gender and how we view and treat women. You know, his girlfriend is overweight, and he does accept her and love her when she's alive, but when she's dead, his first thought is, well, let's upgrade her, without ever considering that maybe she doesn't want a different body. Maybe she liked her size. Maybe she liked the size of her breasts. But he's going to remodel her in this kind of idealized cosmopolitan type image.
Make her perfect.
Exactly, without considering that maybe she was already perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I thought she looked better before.
I disagree, but that's only because her fat suit basically looked like they shoved a pillow in her because of Patty Malone.
Well, I mean, if she was like a real person. Like, yeah.
Yes, but I do believe that body type is gorgeous, and her body type did not need to change to be more attractive. But what's intelligent about this movie is aware that that's fucked up. This movie was aware that was fucked up before it became a conversation in social media. And so you get that final jab at the end where they could only use female parts to reanimate Jeffrey, and then he sees exactly what it's like. You know, she just wants her boyfriend back. So yes, she gives him the female parts. She loves him if he has breasts or whatever. She loves him regardless of his body.
It's kind of the message of the movie.
Exactly, but he's upset.
Because he's now not himself.
Exactly. So it brings up some interesting questions about, you know, what we love about our partners. Like, is it really for their mind, their heart, or is it about their body? You know, how much do we expect our partners to conform to societal norms? And how much do we expect of ourselves? And can a person, you know, ultimately in the end, still be masculine or feminine, regardless of what their body looks like?
Or a little in between, or none at all.
Exactly. I mean, I fully think you can be as manly or as feminine as you want, regardless of what your born gender identity is, regardless of what your body shape is. It all comes from within. You know, I have very masculine traits. I have very feminine traits. And ultimately, my answer would be, I like to have a healthy mix of the two, but you know, you guys do you. If you want to go full Rambo with the testosterone, no one's going to stop you. Yeah. Nor are we going to stop you if you want to go Marilyn Monroe, because those are both amazing people.
Or Marilyn Manson. I mean, these...
You know, Marilyn Manson's a good mix.
I mean, that's like in between, you know, like the whole androgynous, like 1980s, whatever. Yeah. Marilyn Manson.
Let's check back in with the chat. Razor Rex, absolutely, 100%. Need to add it to your watch list. And yeah, this is one that we're absolutely going to be adding. I'm going to be covering on the show in the future. Martin, who is the anthropomorphic fiend, says they would argue that one can make an elevated creature feature. Just look at Guillermo del Toro. And I don't have a problem with what is called elevated horror. I have a problem with the name. I think calling it elevated implies that it's better than a movie like Frankenhooker. Whereas I would say Frankenhooker's a masterpiece and something like The Babadook's a masterpiece. They are both masterpieces. I don't think Babadook is extra masterpiecey because it's got more serious themes or, they both have societal messages. They're both intelligent. I don't think one's necessarily better than the other. So I prefer to call it thematic horror, just because it really is about communicating a thematic message. That is the crux of the horror. So, but I just don't like the term elevated because I feel like a defender of the B movie.
Cheesy movie.
The cheesy movie. Arkham Knight loves Brain Damage. I do love that one too. My favorite Frank Henenlotter probably is Frankenhooker, but it's tough. I love Brain Damage. I'm also a big Basket Case fan because I love Belial.
I think we watched Basket Case with Frankenhooker.
Yes. In fact, I made my middle name after Belial. Gory Belial Movie.
There you go.
Actually, I kind of went the whole Buffy route, so I think my full name is Gorificus Belial Movie. If I want to get fancy, but only my mother calls me that.
Just like your demon name?
Well, yeah. Love super crack. Have I seen Flesh Eater? Asks Wiccabear. Now, Wiccabear, you guys, if you are not already following Wiccabear on Letterboxd, you are missing out. Wiccabear watches everything, including this movie called Flesh Eater that I have not seen. But because I trust my buddy Wiccabear's taste, I'm going to check that out for sure. You'll let me have your DVD copy? Willie, I love you. Dude, bring it to Crypticon. Then you don't have to ship anything. Because I'm going to hang out with my buddy Willie Wiccabear at Crypticon. Yeah! But again, I like that MM likes my thematic name. But if you use elevated horror, you guys know me. I am easy and cheesy. I am not going to judge you.
Who is this?
Oh, Ariel. So Ariel is one of my bestest friends.
Okay.
And she's super sweet. And she wants to know who you are. Ariel, you already know this guy. This is Tony. You've talked to him in the chat before. One of my dearest, oldest friends, Tony, fun story, was actually with me on my very first date with Danny Nightmare. So he knew a young...
Yep.
What's the word?
It was like a budding love, I guess.
You knew Gory back when she was still single. And so, yeah, he saw the whole beginning of my relationship with Danny and was at our wedding. So we go way, way back. Over a decade now.
At least.
That's
yeah.
Like 12, 15 years. It's one of those friends where he's basically more of a brother. And at this point, I don't consider him more my friend or Danny's friend. He is just part of our family. He is just...
I just never leave.
We adore him, and he finally came back from Florida, so we are so chuffed right now. We're so happy. Thank you, Martin.
I couldn't replace you, Dan.
Martin in the chat is my adopted child. I'm so happy that Martin inherited, I believe, their demonic father's hair, because that Lestat do is killer, and seriously, they could market wigs like that. I'm actually thinking about dressing up as my son Martin for Halloween this year because I just love his iconic look. Gory replaced you. I did not replace you, Danny. You were tired. I'm borrowing our buddy who wants to chat hard.
There's enough Muenster Cheese love to go around.
There is.
There's a whole cheesy fountain of Muenster Cheese to go around.
The word I was looking for, Martin, is ingenue. Ingenue. A much more ingenue Gory back when I was in my 20s. But yeah, that's a good word too. Fledgling. I know you kidding. It does get hot in here with the lights and stuff. I apologize now.
I feel at home, like Florida.
So
it's cold out there.
My dear friend. Ariel wants to know if you have seen the Dr. Heckle and Ms. Hyde movie from 1995.
I have not seen it. I need to watch it.
I'm glad you asked about that, Ariel, because I actually talked to the director of that movie, David Price, who is also the co-producer of Leprechaun. He was in our last Horror Hangout chat, which was really cool. If you guys missed that one, the audio wasn't great. But David Price showed up, and Mark Jones showed up in the chat. And I'm hoping, cross your fingers, I'm hoping I can get those guys on a stream, because they're cool. We can talk a little about Dr. Jekyll
Gory
and
was
Hyde.
fangirling about that for days.
Yes!
She's still going on about it.
I know. But I adore them.
I mean, I would do that too if, like, you know, Tom Brady, like, commented on one of my stuff, so.
That's a sports guy, right?
Yes. He's like the sports guy.
He makes sports?
Football.
He makes a football. I'm glad.
And deflates them too.
Wait, was that the one that was in Something About Mary? Because I know that one.
No, that was Brett Favre.
Okay. Well, I think he's my favorite sports person of the football.
Tom Brady was in...
because he's in that movie.
Was in Ted 2. They were trying to, like, get his swimmers.
My favorite sport is roller derby.
I remember you were doing the roller derby. You had like the cool makeup and stuff like that.
That's where my name came from. Are we chatting on Twitter as well? We're not.
Jawbreakers.
I'm going to start finding out more creative ways to stream in multiple places. But you can always find me on Twitter. And actually, if you guys are big on Twitter, next week is the premiere of Joe Bob's Last Drive-In. Danny and I do not miss that. And we always live tweet on Twitter because we just love the Mutant Fam. And it's just a fun collective to be a part of.
Oh, we got to segue into Critters.
Where's Critters?
Ariel watched Critters 2 on HBO.
We're going to talk about Critters in a little bit. First, I want to ask you, my dear friend Tony, tell me about the Cheesy Movie Club.
So, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but the Cheesy Movie Club, we just watch like
nice.
B-rated movies. It can be just movies that you consider cheesy. It can be horror, it can be like comedy, just like anything that's not like mainstream. As a matter of fact, I think the most like mainstream movie we watched on that was The Room.
It has to be cheesy, but it can be so bad it's good cheesy, or it can just be it can be, well, yeah, it's kind of the same, or it could just be just like genuinely trying to be cheesy and succeeding. And actually, it's because of Cheesy Movie Club that I've come up with a new rating for my show. Instead of giving it a letter grade or a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a star rating, I've decided I'm going to start ranking the B movies when I do all the gory details. I'm going to give them a cheese rating. So the cheese could be, as Tony mentioned earlier, a cheese fountain. It just gives you
that's like top
endless
of the
cheese.
That's like top of the, you know.
It could be moldy cheese, like something like The Room where it's kind of so bad it's good. You know, or no, stinky cheese is what we came up with. Stinky cheese. So we've got tons of different cheeses we're going to come out with, but I decided that's what I'm going with.
So how do you join the Cheesy Movie Club? That's a great question. So
you created it, so
what you do is we have to initiate you into watching a movie that's like cheesy. It'll probably be The Room because everybody's got to be subjected to that.
I love that. You love that movie. I love that movie.
That's a great movie. And you watch it next to a Disaster Artist. It's great.
What was our first cheesy movie?
Zardos.
Yeah, that was fun.
I have seen Warcraft, and that I would consider that cheesy. I mean, it's kind of like it tried too hard to be a video game, so I would consider that cheesy. It was like over-branded cheese though.
And we also have cheesy names.
Yep, Muenster Cheese, Gouda.
I'm Gouda.
Danny is Blue, and
Walls is Whiz.
Whiz. Cheese Whiz. So there's still like a lot of cheeses.
So yeah, if you were in the Cheesy Club, you do need a cheesy name. It's like roller derby in that respect. Mm-hmm. You got to have a cheesy name. And we are drinking tonight. If you guys want to imbibe or not, you know, I mean, even if it's not alcohol, you should drink something because hydration is so ill.
All right, so Wicca, we did watch the Toxic Avenger movies, and we watched Poultrygeist for Troma, for the Cheesy Movie Club, and it was. I like the Toxic Avenger movies. Poultrygeist, I was a little like, what's going on with this?
I'm not, see, that's the, okay, here's a funny thing I want to talk to you, because speaking of cheesy movies, and I really like to be on the side of the movies. I love to be one of the people who loves the movies. I love to be one of the people who defends a movie that everybody else hates. I hate to be the person who dislikes something that everybody likes. It makes you feel like a party pooper.
Right.
But undeniably, I think we all are in that camp with some movies, and unfortunately, largely with Troma, I am not a fan. Which sucks because I know they're cheesy movie gold, but Troma, I don't like, I don't know, I guess I'm not keen on like the Tromaville of it. It feels like, I don't know, it's a little too in its own world.
It tries too much to, it's like pasteurized cheese.
I guess, like, yeah, I mean, I like some of them. Actually, my favorite Troma films, I think, are, well, obviously Cannibal the Musical, And I like the Nukem High movies. I do like the Toxic Avenger, but some of them, like Troma's War and stuff, I just can't get into. Poultrygeist, I don't know. The Troma films can be, not to try to sound like a snowflake or anything, they can be a little offensive.
Poultrygeist was just gross. Like, that's kind of my takeaway from that.
However, I will say I'm a huge Full Moon fan. I love Full Moon movies. That doesn't mean I love all of them, but largely I am a Full Moon fan. I do enjoy a lot of Full Moon.
So Arkham wants to know if there's a way to join a group for cheesy movie club. Words are hard.
You know, you should start a Facebook group or something.
I think I was working on that, and then, work kind of got away from me, so...
And we have Cheesy Movie Club shirts.
Yeah, so I designed the shirt, and, whoever comes and join, you get a shirt. Like, it's kind of like our badge.
It is. It's our badge of honor.
And... Like, I remember when I debuted them on Christmas Day or something like that, I brought them out to everybody. It was great. It was awesome. Like, I was really happy. Yeah,
I agree with Martin. Like, I think Lloyd Kaufman's great. I'm always excited when I see him in something. He's going to be in The Barn 2 coming out this year, and I'm excited. I like Lloyd Kaufman. I like what he does. But there's just a lot of things about Troma that have kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, my buddies Screaming Soup did a Troma versus Full Moon War, and Troma wanted to monetize it for themselves. Like, that rubbed me the wrong way, just outside of the films. But a lot of the films can be kind of, like, insensitive to, like, people of color or women. And I'm not super keen on that. That, to me, isn't really funny. Like, Poultrygeist has a lot of that. And I know that's a huge favorite from people, but I just can't get into it.
I mean, I can't shake the feeling that was kind of the point of Poultrygeist, was to be offensive. But it did it in the wrong ways.
And it works for a lot of people. I'm just saying It doesn't really work for me.
Right.
It's also, I feel like the Troma movies rely really hard on that, like, raunchy and gross out humor, which you get a little bit of that in Full Moon, but I feel like it's way more overblown.
Right.
But honestly, I think the thing that rubs me the wrong, like, the just is cringe for me about Troma, like, especially Troma's War, where they're like, we're from Tromaville. Like, it just feels like the Troma movies feel like they're their own biggest fan. Mm-hmm. Like, they mark out for themselves way too much. And you can tell that they think that their jokes are, like, the funniest things ever. And I'm like, It just almost seems like it's a little up its own ass.
Right.
But I don't hate them. Like I said, I like the Nukem High movies. There are Troma movies I like. I just, especially when they're, like, have the Tromaville people come out and stuff. Like, that stuff I'm just not into. But 100%, if you love Troma, I love you because you love horror.
And fun fact about Troma, though, so one of the characters, Dolphin Man.
Who's Dolphin Man?
I think he was in, like, Sergeant Kabuki. It's in one of the Troma films.
I haven't seen... in all fairness, I haven't seen that.
So this is like Dolphin Dude. So he was in the Super Bowl. He was dancing with the fishes. So he made it big on the stage. It was great. So that was kind of a cool, like, recognition for the cheesy horror.
To MM, I do love Tromeo and Julia. That is one of the Troma movies I like. That was actually my first Troma movie, and I love Cannibal the Musical. So I'm not saying I hate all Troma movies. There are just certain ones like Troma's War that are just really hard to watch. Not a fan of Poultrygeist, and I like Toxic Avenger, but I don't love it like a lot of people do. So, but 100%, if you guys love them, like, absolutely keep loving them. Do not let my stupid opinions sway you. I do love Full Moon. Wiccabear, I love Necropolis. I love the 6 boobs in that. I need to do that on the show here, cause 6 boobs. Debbie Rochon, Robin, is a great B-movie actress. Debbie Rochon, I think she directed a movie, Model Behavior, I think, Model something. It was pretty good. And Martin wanted to know what my favorite Full Moon movies are. I do love the Species franchise, that I'll admit. I've only seen 1 and 2, but I think they are great. My favorite Full Moon movie, if we're counting everything Charles Band has done, would probably be like Reanimator or Sorority Babes in the Slime Bowl-orama. I love both of those. I love Castle Freak. I love, why am I drawing a blank? What is that movie? I own it.
Model Hunger?
No, it's a Full Moon movie. Model Hunger is the movie I was thinking of with Debbie Rochon. It is Tourist Trap. I love Tourist Trap. So some people may not consider them Full Moon, but Charles Band has had a lot of production companies over the years. Sometimes he's a distributor or more of a producer, but I think they all kind of, for me, fall in the Full Moon umbrella. As far as like official Full Moon movies, I think the later Killjoy movies are pretty good. Anything after 3 is pretty good. I think Ginger Dead Man 2 is good. I like a lot of Full Moon. I think Arcade is fun. Oh, you know what I love? Okay, of cheesy Full Moon movies that I love Shrunken Heads. I love Shrunken Heads.
Was that one that we watched, or was that one that we never got to?
We haven't got to it yet, but we need to, because in this movie...
We talked about it.
These 3 boys who live in, like, the inner city of, like, New York or something. Some big city. They have, like, a crime boss in their area. And they try to stand up to these kids who are like bullies and stuff, who are also attached to this crime boss. They end up getting shot. But they were friends with this guy who is dabbling in some kind of voodoo. And he brings the boys back as shrunken heads that can fly around and they have powers awesome. So that they can kind of bring justice to this town that's being run by this crime boss.
We need to watch this soon.
This movie is great. I love, one of the boys had a girlfriend before he died, and he goes to her, and he's like, we can still embrace. And he just snuggles his little shrunken head in between her boobs. I just love it. So, Danny asked me if I love PMS Cop. I own PMS Cop. I actually bought it from the director. I didn't mean to. I bought it on eBay, and then I got a message saying, hey, I directed this movie. I'm like, that's amazing. But it does seem like my kind of movie. I owned this movie. I have not watched it yet because Danny wants to do it on one of his Full Moon movie nights, which if you guys haven't seen those on Horror Addicts, they're so much fun. Danny does a great job with those.
So the Hansel and Gretel you're talking about, is that the one with Gemma Arterton or whatever her name is? And not Clint Barton.
Clint Barton? That's close enough.
Yeah, Hawkeye.
Oh, that's cool, Martin. I'm glad your dad got to see Tourist Trap in the theaters. I think Tourist Trap is so insanely creepy, even though it's not even, I think it's like rated PG, just the telekinesis, and it's so creative with all the mannequins and stuff. And then what they do when they put the plaster over the victims' faces, being someone who's claustrophobic, that is terrifying. I think Tourist Trap is horribly underrated. I love that movie. Thoughts on the Puppet Master franchise? So I think the strength of the Puppet Master franchise is the puppets. I like the puppets largely when they are the good guys. I didn't really care for the one that came out recently that was like a reboot where they were bad guys and they were like doing hate crimes and stuff for Nazis. Like, I was not into that because I like my puppets largely good. I'm also not the biggest fan of Puppet Master 1 because they're super cute in the beginning, and then for most of it they're being used as killing machines by the bad guy, and then they're kind of back to being okay. But 2 through about 3, when they're kind of like the good guys, I love that. I love the puppets' personalities and their little expressions. I think they're adorable. Terra Firma? I don't think I have seen Terra Firma. And I haven't seen the bad guys, Gabriel.
Nazi angle bugs.
I mean, here's the thing with the Puppet Master reboot movie, which I can't remember the name of right now. It had great kill scenes and stuff, but like, I don't really like it when the puppets are bad. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, it's not fun to say puppets are bad, okay?
Because they were originally created to fight the Nazis. So the fact that they were being used by like Nazi groups in that movie to go against, people of color and people of, Jewish, descent and stuff, I don't know. It just, I like it when they're killing Nazis. I don't like Seed People. Okay, that Seed People I think is a Tommy Knockers ripoff. I do not like Seed People. Dan, stop trying to start some trash. I don't like street trash. So Arkham Knight loves street trash, and I totally respect that. Street trash was one that I'd heard about for a long time, because we talk about dongs a lot on this show. And everyone's like, Gory, you gotta see street trash. They play hot potato with a dong. And so I was like, all right, that sounds cool. And I watched it, and I will say I love the practical effects. I love the colors, but most of that movie is this drama about some, homeless people. And it really didn't sell on the premise. I didn't show enough of the Viper and the killings with the Viper, which I thought was the strength of the film. There's also a rape scene that's used for comedic effect, and that always rubs me the wrong way. So I am really not a fan of that movie, but I 100% understand why people like it. It's just not for me. But yeah, the effects were really cool. But yeah, there's just some movies that everyone has kind of maybe their lines in horror, and rape being used for comedic effect is usually a pretty big I'm not gonna like this movie.
Yeah, for me, just SA in general. Can't do it.
Yeah. And everyone has their lines. I know people who won't watch a movie where the dog dies. Like, that doesn't bother me, but I understand that it bothers a lot of people. That's just, for me, that's kind of one of the things that makes it hard for me to enjoy a film.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Critters?
Always.
Yes. So, what is your favorite horror movie, Tony?
So if I were to pick one, it'd be Critters 3.
Why Critters 3?
So I remember when I was 8-year-old me in Puerto Rico, and we had this VHS with Critters 3. And we watched this movie over and over. Like, we didn't know it was part of a franchise. We just knew it was Critters 3. And it had Leonardo DiCaprio in it. Charlie was just this bumbling bounty hunter, which I didn't know anything about. I just thought it was cool. He had the big old guns, and he had this glowing crystal he gives to this kid. And then when the critters are eating everything in the kitchen, it's just all ravenous, and it's just really comedic, and it was just great.
Yeah, I think Critters gets called a Gremlins ripoff a lot. But there's so much to the mythology of Critters that is so different and so unique. In fact, the script for Critters was written before Gremlins was even out. So I don't think it's a knockoff.
I think the first Critters came out before Gremlins.
Maybe. But, the thing with the bounty hunters and stuff and them escaping from prison, I think it's really cool. And I have a lot of love for Critters 3, which is just cheesy fun. Has Leonardo DiCaprio in it before he was a star. He's adorable. My favorite Critters movie is Critters 2. I like Critters 1, but my favorite parts are when the critters are just being little assholes. That's my favorite thing ever. Especially when they have the subtitles saying what they're saying. And I feel like we got the height of that in Critters 2. Great effects, giant critter ball I love. The cheesy effects that are also really good. I also like the character arc with the bounty hunters. And, the locals, I feel like everyone grows and learns, and there's some really great comedic moments. And it's an Easter movie.
It is, because they have the eggs.
Exactly. But I think it's really good. I think it's awesome.
I think the first one was an Easter movie. No, the second one was an Easter movie. Because they have...
Okay, so Critters came out 2 years after Gremlins.
Okay.
But I know they started working on the script before Gremlins had even come out. They never intended to be, profiting off of Gremlins.
Yeah, I remember the ending of the Critters was the first, or Critters 3 was the first movie that I seen with a stinger in it. That I actually knew that it was a stinger.
Yeah.
Because at the end of it, he's got the 4 eggs, and he's about to blam these eggs, and then he gets a call saying, "Don't kill him. That's the last 4 eggs. You can't eradicate a species." And
it also does a really good job. Some of these franchises, the storyline gets confusing, especially if you watch Halloween, where now it's rebooted and stuff. But largely with the first 4 Critters movies, you can watch those back to back, and they continue the story off of the last one. So yeah, it's a good continuing story. You learn more about the characters with each one, and especially with Critters 4, you need to have seen the previous films to even understand what is going on. That series also has a lot of talent in it. Before they were stars talent. You got Billy Zane in the first one. Lynn Shay is in part 2. I think she was in part 1 as well. Then you've got Leonardo DiCaprio in part 3. Brad Dourif and Angela... Damn it, I can't remember her last name. I'm drawing a lot of blanks. She was in Vampire in Brooklyn. She's a big deal. Anyway, she's in Critters 4. But yeah, a lot of stars in it. Then you got Dee Wallace in the first one, as well as Critters Attack. So yeah, a lot of big stars in that franchise.
It's probably by far my favorite.
And I love the Critters, Critters the New Binge. It was a franchise. It was a series that came out on Shudder. The episodes were really short. I wish they would have been longer, but it was a really fun series. I wish Shudder would bring it back, or at least release it on Blu-ray.
There was also a fan-made...
The Bounty Hunter.
Yes.
That was so good.
So well done.
And you can watch it on YouTube.
That's why I watched it.
So well done.
It was really well done. Like, the Bounty Hunter, like, you felt he was going to, like, shapeshift at any minute. Angela Bassett, that's the name.
Angela Bassett, thank you. I am drawing such a blank with stuff today. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, it was just a...
I keep wanting to say Betis, but I know that's the girl from May, so... So, what do you think separates Critters from other, like, mini monster movies? Like, you got your Munchies, your Hobgoblins, your Gremlins.
That's a tough one. I mean, for me, like, I guess it would just be exposure. It was one of the few things that I got exposed to as a young Muenster Cheese.
Baby cheese.
I was Baby Bell Cheese at the time.
Aww, it's adorable.
Because I was still tiny at the time.
I do think, for me, the extraterrestrial element, a lot of franchises go to space. Critters started in space. And I think the bounty hunters and them as characters and their relationships with the main cast is a huge part of Critters and definitely the heart of the series. It really did. It really had a good plot and strong characters, which is what I think separates it from like Munchies and Hobgoblins. And I really don't see them as being a lot in common with Gremlins. Gremlins, they're very mischievous, which the Critters are, but the Critters are fucking foul. Like they swear.
Yeah, like they're kind of like, they're mischievous, but they're also the apex predators.
Mm-hmm. They're also a lot more dangerous. So here's a question for you. Danny and I kind of had this discussion recently. Critters versus Gremlins, who's going to win?
Okay, so we keep going in circles with this one. So you have like the Critters, so the apex predators, the intergalactics, they're mischievous and whatever.
This is like a predator versus alien.
Right. But then you have the Gremlins, and like if they get with water, they can multiply, and they're very mischievous. They're dangerous, but they're more about pranking things. So they're not
really
like
are.
out to
It feels
kill.
like people get killed by them more as a result of something that they've done to be funny.
Right.
They're more about mischief than anything.
Right, like they'll be like cutting the brakes out of a vehicle, like not necessarily to kill somebody, but just because they want to see it careen into something. But whereas like a critter, it's trying to kill stuff because it's a predator. It's trying to eat.
Like when they throw the woman through the ceiling of her house on her chair, I don't think they gave a shit whether she died or not. They just wanted to see it happen. Right. Just like how they took over the theater. Nobody died in that. No, they took over the bar even.
They wanted to watch Snow White.
Exactly. They want to have fun, and they don't care if people die. But that is not their goal. Whereas Critters, they really are trying to take over the planet. Mm-hmm. And they're little assholes. Now, here's the thing. You are correct in that Gremlins multiply via water. There is a little bit of a delay, though. It takes a while for them to pop out because they kind of fall over and have a little seizure. That also means that you're starting off... I mean, if you're starting off with Mogwais, I think the Critters have already won. Yep. So you need to do it like kind of spike at the end of Gremlins where they're coming out of a gremlin. But it does take time. There is a bit of a delay. Enough time, I would argue, that you could get a Critters ball going. Right. The Critters also shoot quills that can make you pass out. So they could easily shoot a quill at that gremlin when it's breeding and possibly stop it. Now, if you're getting into Critters the New Binge, they even have quills that make you explode. So a red critter could shoot a quill at it and make it explode before it even gives birth. Yeah. Or buds or whatever you want to call it.
And that's not to say, like, if there's, like, 4 gremlins and then 2 of them go and reproduce while the other 2, like, distract the other.
But, yeah, I feel like under the right circumstances, either of them could win. But I would say largely my money is on the Critters just because they're the bigger assholes.
And they're also apex predators. Like, that's my takeaways. Like, their aim is to kill. Like, everything about them is made to, like, eat. They're... Yeah,
100%. And then also, you have to consider this. The Critters are not alone necessarily, because they have bounty hunters after them, and the bounty hunters are looking to capture or kill the critters.
Oh, they'll just drown everything.
If they're having a war with the gremlins, I 100% think the bounty hunters would add the gremlins to that and easily could shoot them.
And try to capture one of them.
Yes.
Because they don't want to eradicate the species.
So let's say we take breeding out of the picture. We have the same amount of critters versus the same amount of gremlins. I think it's pretty easy.
It's Kreitz.
Kreitz all the way. All right, I'm glad we said all that. Hey, Steven, what's up? Would a gremlin be affected by a critter quill? And I think they would be, just because I haven't seen any species be immune to the critter quill.
And I believe that gremlins are mammals, if we're going with the whole Mogwai thing. They're just like hairless and weird looking.
Yeah, I mean, they're something. I don't know what they are, but yeah, the gremlins are also, I mean, they are affected by damage in the same way a lot of mammals are. They can be cut, they can be harmed.
One of them even gets blended. Exactly.
Microwaved. So I don't know that we've seen enough to say that they have any kind of special resistance.
Yeah, but so the electric gremlin, he got into some chemicals, so he's like an enhanced gremlin. When we could say that a Krite got into the same chemicals and become electric.
The experiments in Gremlins 2, I think are kind of a separate deal because that's something that happened to them.
It wasn't inherently part of his DNA.
Exactly, because they were manipulated. You could do the same manipulation to a Krite. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, you can add extenuating circumstances to a lot of these where a gremlin could get the upper edge. But largely, I'm on Team Krite. Now, if we're going to talk about the movies, yes, 100%. I think the first Gremlins movie is better than any of the Critters movies. I love it. It is my favorite Christmas movie. Yes, it is a Christmas movie. Actually, it's my second favorite. Black Christmas is my favorite.
Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. I think the second one's a Christmas movie, too.
I don't remember, but probably. I think so. Yeah, I think they were having a Christmas party.
It's Christmas party. So they're both Christmas movies.
Hey, Dino, the Late Horror Show. Dino does a great radio show, guys, every night. That is like the best thing to fall asleep to if you guys are not already watching, which you probably aren't, because I think a lot of people watch that, but I love it. Steven, yes. You know what? I think we are long overdue for a good versus movie. I think a versus movie is a special kind of event in horror, and I think it gets people really excited in a way that you don't get excited by just a normal sequel. I mean, going back to Universal days, you've got the Wolfman versus Frankenstein. Movies like that were such a big deal, and Universal did it a couple times. And then, obviously, looking to the early 2000s, so Freddy versus Jason, that was an event 10 years in the making, and people were hyped.
Right.
So, I think, yes, we are... Full Moon does it quite a bit, which is something I do enjoy, like Dollman versus Demonic Toys. They've done a lot of kind of versus movies, but I would love to see more mainstream versus movies. And I think Gremlins versus Critters would be really fun.
And can you think of all the mischief that would happen in that movie? Like
so much mischief.
Like they would have to have like the guys from like that prank show, like just to.
Which one? Jackass?
No, not Jackass. They're the four guys that prank each other.
I don't remember.
But I think just them having a cameo in it would be great because they're like doing mischief and then they get mischieved by the creatures.
Zigma, I don't review movies that aren't horror movies, and I didn't think it was bad. I thought the new Batman was great.
It's so bad it should be horror. That's how I feel about Kazam.
I feel that way about a few movies. I think The Room is arguably a horror movie.
I think it was supposed to be. Like, I don't know what it wanted to be, if I'm being honest with you.
I liked the new Batman, and I know Zigma didn't like Sonic 2. I liked Sonic 2. That was good. Have the Ghoulies crossed over with anything else? No. Now, Ghoulies is another one, Martin, that I think is really interesting, because I think the first Ghoulies movie is honestly the worst one. It's kind of boring.
Impractical Joker.
Impractical Joker. There you go. I think Ghoulies 2 is great, and I actually like Ghoulies Go to College. It's kind of like, it's almost like Animal House or something, and it's also the first movie of Matthew Lillard from Scream. But thank you, Dusty or Zigma. I am so happy. I was really excited to try out this new mic, and I'm excited to watch the stream back and see how it sounds. I'm glad you guys can hear everything okay. Awesome. I'm glad what are some more versus movies you would like to see? I mean, obviously we've seen Freddy versus Jason. Now,
so they did Alien versus Predator, which...
that's another good one, yeah.
The first one was good. The second one was meh. Yeah, that's why I say it was supposed to be a horror movie, because he was supposed to be a flying vampire car.
Yeah, he's like, he can just fly off the roof of the building because he's a vampire. My mummy is watching. Thank you, mummy. Okay, dude, we're gonna put this on this charger here. There we go.
So what versus what I like? I think somebody mentioned Wishmaster versus Leprechaun. That would be cool.
I do think that would be cool. A lot of people always go with Child's Play or Chucky versus Leprechaun, and I think one that's a little too easy. I also, I don't know. They have very different motivations. Chucky is a serial killer. Chucky just enjoys killing. Whereas Leprechaun just wants his gold. He enjoys killing, but primarily he wants his gold. He's also a lot more naive than Chucky, who was a human being before he was a doll. Leprechaun is usually kind of very fish out of water. What would be a good... So do you think Wishmaster is a good pair? Also, Leprechaun has magic. I mean, Chucky has voodoo, but it's a little different.
I'd have to go with Wishmaster and Leprechaun.
Did you know at one point they tried to do a Candyman versus Leprechaun movie?
I did not.
They were going through their library after Freddy versus Jason, and the only other thing the highest grossing thing they had was Candyman, and they pitched it to Tony Todd, and he said no fucking way. Not that anyone can blame him.
I don't know. I think if I were to, they need to have like a versus movie with Michael Myers and like. I would actually say Jason and Freddy in this like free for all.
So
maybe the dude from Jeepers Creepers, just like this like battle royale of those guys.
Have I ever told you my idea for a remake of Season of the Witch, Halloween 3?
Mm-mm.
So Halloween 3, and this is what I think should be the next Halloween movie after we get Halloween Ends, obviously, which is coming out this year. I think the next Halloween movie should be a remake of Season of the Witch. There are people who have expressed interest, like Rob Zombie has expressed interest in remaking that movie. Season of the Witch, if you guys haven't seen it, is really cool. It delves into this group of, I guess, like satanic witches who just kind of want to, kill a whole bunch of kids by using rocks from Stonehenge, putting them in masks, and then at a certain time on Halloween, those masks like erupt into bugs and kill whomever is wearing them. So here's the thing. They only have 3 masks in that one, but I think a great way to actually bring Michael Myers in and kind of establish a connection between Michael Myers and Season of the Witch, Michael Myers is wearing a mask. And, they have already toyed with the idea that a cult is responsible. What if the cult was the same cult from Season of the Witch? What if the mask he is wearing is what brought out the inner evil in him and inspired him to kill? Right? Even when he was a child, he was wearing a mask. So if you make a movie where there's more than just those 3 masks, then you can tie Michael Myers in, but you can also tie in maybe other masked characters.
Jason.
Like Jason.
And the original Jason, the original killer in Jason was the mom, and, everybody knows that.
Exactly, so...
But then when nobody cared about Jason until he put on the burlap sack.
Exactly, but see, so that way, not only can you make a strong connection between Season of the Witch and Michael Myers and the other films, which I think is something a lot of fans have wanted to see. I don't like the idea that the Halloween movies are movies within that movie. I think it would be fun to make them actually connect. But yeah, if you wanted to eventually, that way you could get into versus type movies with other masked characters, even like Ghostface. And, largely Danny has had the theory for a long time that there's something about the Ghostface mask that makes the people who initially put it on wanting to kill. It makes them a little more evil.
Yeah, you could have a whole series on that even and call it give us some cliche title like Mask of Evil or something like that.
Exactly. So I think that would be a really fun way to go. But let me know what you guys think, because I know the Season of the Witch is a cult favorite. A lot of people may not want anyone to touch it, but I think it would be really fun, and I think there's a lot of fun directions to go with. That's just my personal pitch for a remake, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think of it.
Ooh, Pennywise versus Pinhead. I would love to see that fight.
That could be fun. That could be really fun. Movie Massacre Show is in here. Hey, dude. Hope you're feeling okay today. And Ben, Skinface, Dustin. Season of the Witch and Troll 2. That could be really interesting, Martin. I'm interested in that. More crossovers. I mean, I'm always saying that we're due for another round of the Universal Monsters. They successfully did it with Hammer. They tried to do it with the Dark Universe, but I think it was kind of a soulless approach, and fans are smart. Fans know when it's all about the money. And so nobody got on board with The Mummy, with Tom Cruise and all that. But a genuine reboot of the Universal Monsters with people who are passionate about the original monsters, passionate about Hammer, and want to bring that universe back to life and not just to cash in on some kind of attempt to make a universe like the MCU, I think fans would be all for. But it needs to be made by the right people. I mean, we saw that with The Invisible Man. You know, that was a reboot of a Universal Monster movie, and people loved it. But it was made for the right reasons by people who wanted to tell a story. So I think I would like to see... I'd like to see more of that come back. You know, a new Wolfman. I'd love to see a Bride of Frankenstein movie. I'd love to see... I think we're due for that because those are such iconic stories based on novels. And, yeah, I want to see them come back. I want to see younger audiences, new horror fans, get attached to them. Because, you know, I am a Universal Monster girl. But I know a lot of people who discovered these monsters through the Hammer films. And I would love for... other people to discover these monsters and fall in love with them who maybe didn't get into Universal Monsters or Hammer, to have something that would be their way in.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I know they tried it with, I think it was like The Conjuring. They tried something similar to that.
The Conjuring universe, I think, is largely pretty successful. I think it has its fans, and I think, you know, they've done a pretty good job. It's not my favorite universe, though I have enjoyed a lot of movies within it. So, you know, I actually liked The Nun. I know a lot of people didn't. But, I mean, I think they're bringing out some cool villains, which is cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Austin530, good to see you.
And I gotta be biased on the whole, which is my favorite villain from The Conjuring would be La Llorona.
Who?
La Llorona.
Nice. Why is that your favorite?
Just Latino.
That's it?
And my parents used to scare me with La Llorona.
So you heard about the La Llorona legend?
The girl that, you know, the mom that drowned her kids and she was crying because her kids were misbehaving.
It kind of reminds me of the first episode of Supernatural, too.
Yeah,
I mean, they call it the woman in white, but she did drown her kids.
It's a very similar story. Like, she drowns her kids, and then like she goes around looking for kids that are like bad, and that's what parents used to scare their kids.
So what did your parents tell you about La Llorona when you were a child?
It's like, you know, just your typical pick up your toys, or La Llorona's gonna come after you. Like when you take a bath or whatever. So like I was like traumatized from taking a bath because I thought
you thought La Llorona was gonna get you in the bath?
Because I saw she drowned her kids.
Oh my god!
It's in the bath, like.
That's horrifying.
I was like, no, I don't want to take a bath.
You know what? It wasn't necessarily a getting me thing, but a thing I was told by my grandmother that needs to really freak me out. My grandmother had all these like little brass figurines, toy figurines, and she told me that at midnight it was the witching hour. And I had to go to bed. Because all of the inanimate objects in the house that had personality, like were of an animal or a human, would come to life. And they didn't like it when we were awake. So they would come after us. So you have to go to bed. And for evidence, she had this portrait of a leopard. And the leopard was kind of 3D. Its face was kind of protruding. And she told me that leopard didn't get back in the painting in time. And that's why it's like that. And so I always went to bed on time. That scared the shit out of me.
Ooh, Annabelle versus Chucky would be a good one.
See, I would argue no. And the reason why is because Annabelle doesn't move aside from turning her head. She has no personality. I think there's a big difference between the dolls with personality, like Chucky, and then like Annabelle. See, Annabelle, I would say, is more like maybe Robert the doll. But Chucky needs an equally foul-mouthed opponent. Somebody who's going to talk some shit back. Annabelle's just going to sit there.
So Ted?
Ted would be good. Ted actually would be good. Why not? You know, so here's something that's happening this year, you guys, that I'm kind of excited about. I don't know how much you guys are into the new sci-fi movies. I got it. Oh, yeah. Ooh, it's blue. I don't know how much you guys are into the sci-fi movies. I know for the longest time, saying something was a sci-fi movie was kind of almost like a dig. You know, especially because they had like the Sharknadoes, and they used to really specialize in a lot of low-budget films. But I feel like in the last, 5 or so years, they've come out with some really good ones. They did the remake of Summer Party Massacre. They came out with the Chucky series. I thought Leprechaun Returns was really good. So now I'm genuinely excited when I hear that there's a new sci-fi project. And this year there's going to be Bring It On, Cheer or Die. Which is interesting because Bring It On is a comedy franchise, a teen comedy franchise. But in this movie, they're going to be practicing in, I think, like a haunted barn or something. I don't remember exactly the location, but it's haunted, supposedly haunted on Halloween. And then somebody starts killing off the cheerleaders. So I'm all about like taking things from other genres and bringing them into the horror verse. Kind of like what you said with like Ted.
I mean, like even if it ends up, it's. In a scenario like that, you'd have, Chucky winning because he's just going to, like, cut the head off the bear. The bear's just more foul.
Mm-hmm. There, dude. You can scoot in more. Why do you keep running over there, dude? What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of nothing.
Yeah, right. Chucky versus my mother-in-law. Ouch. I think Chucky getting cursed because she doesn't know what to say. Yeah, I think Chucky with Annabelle would be a lot like me on the Horror Addicts review, Sorority Babes. Yeah, it would just get really, really frustrating. Speaking of which, Chucky versus Monster Face, that could work.
I need that in my life, and I didn't know how much until you said
it. That could be fun. Monster Face from Horror Addicts. Get him in a movie. How long have we been streaming for? We were a little late. That's almost been an hour. Yeah. What do I think of the Fatal 4-Way WWE style? Freddy versus Jason versus Leatherface versus Michael Myers.
Well, that's what I was talking about.
So, Harsh Truth, which thank you for watching, by the way. I love your show. Is this a tag match? Like a WWE tag match? And who's on which team? I think that could be cool. It could also be kind of like how they do basketball, like March Madness. Yeah, like whoever is the winner goes on to the next opponent.
I would like to see it more as like a free-for-all. Like a battle royale. Just
like a battle. Oh, okay. That could be cool.
That's what I would like to see.
Benny versus Chucky.
But I would think that out of all those guys, I would have to give it to Freddy. Because he could just like get in their dreams and kill them from within. And then somehow, like, at the end of it, you'd have to have Pinhead just show up and finish off the last guy.
See, I'm actually going to go with Don Mancini's suggestion, because Don Mancini has talked about it a lot, because people have asked him, like, what about Chucky versus Leprechaun? He's like, that's just a little too easy, and, he said for a lot of the reasons I've said that just wouldn't be a lot of fun. But he wants, and it's largely because Chucky's personality was loosely based on this character, he wants Chucky versus Freddy, and I think that could be really fun. They were both serial killers in life. They both have some supernatural elements. Mm-hmm. They are both assholes. And they both have preyed on children. So, teenagers, little kids, they both preyed on them. So I think that could be really interesting.
Yeah. It'd be interesting because does Chucky dream?
I would love to see Ash versus anybody. Ash versus anybody would be fantastic. In fact, they did a comic book, and I can't entirely remember the name of it. But in the comic book, I think it was Nightmare Warriors or something. But it did have the major three, and then it introduced Ash. So I believe it was Jason, Michael, and I think Leatherface? I don't know. It's been a while since I've read it, but that would be cool.
Alien versus the Thing.
Alien versus the Thing. That's interesting. What do you think?
So, it would be like ultimately the alien wins it, but not that xenomorph. It'll be kind of like at the end of Alien versus Predator, where like the Predator killed the alien, or the xenomorph, but he injected an egg into him, so it came out of...
I think I would almost rather see the Thing go against something else that has kind of a body snatcher or morphing ability.
Yeah.
Like maybe the Thing versus body snatchers? Pod people? But that could be cool.
Yeah, pot people.
That's it. Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. Thank you. Ariel, I like reboots when they're done well. But that could be really cool. But yeah, there's some pretty cool ideas out there for some versus movies. And I just think, hey, Leatherface Plays, I think versus movies, like I said, they feel like big events. You know, movies that you really look forward to. And you kind of get a mishmash of horror fans involved because, you know, you've got the hardcore fans from both sides of it.
And it gets, like, people interested in the other universe. Like, somebody might be interested in Freddy, but they don't like Jason. And now they got both of them put together, and they're like, oh, like, this character is actually pretty cool, so I'm going to go watch the Freddy movies, and, you know. 100%
exactly what you just said. I think that's great. And I also feel like, especially because we live in this era now where, like, tons of YouTubers and influencer personalities are boxing and all this shit. I that's fine and good if you're into that, but I want to see horror movie characters go at it. You want to hear something else I want to hear? I want to see in the horrorverse?
Yeah.
I want a horror Lego movie.
That would be amazing.
I know, right?
Like, everything is scary.
Can you imagine, like, Jason killing somebody in a Lego movie and their little pieces fall on the floor? I would die! I would actually die!
You'd have, like, a little Chucky minifig.
Oh my gosh! And so, like, how Lego brought in all of these different IPs, you know, Harry Potter, DC, all of this stuff together. Can you imagine a Lego horror movie with all of those IPs? You've got Pennywise, you've got Jason, Freddy, Chucky, Critters, all in a movie together.
And you could have both Pennywises on there.
Yeah. Oh, actually, they've already done The Grudge versus The Ring. It's Sadako versus Kayako, and it's really good.
So I have heard of movie 43. I have not watched it.
I haven't seen it either. But yeah, you could have Pinhead in there too. Like I'm saying, like the Lego movie of horror. Mm-hmm. Absolutely everything you can throw in there would be so fun. So fun.
Ooh, so that gives me an idea. So like for like this Lego movie, right? Like this Lego horror movie. They could start with the whole Lego Hellraiser thing that Anthropomantic is talking about. Like
anthropomorphic fiend.
Yeah, that person. Words are hard.
You can call him Martin.
Okay, Martin. So you can start it off with, like, it's this Lego box, but the box is the box from Hellraiser. So, like, they open it up, and it's, like, this whole, like, universe of, like...
I like that.
Yeah, that should be, like, the opening for it.
I think that's really
I have
cool.
such sights to show you. You open up this Lego box.
That's so cool. I just think it would be super fun. Like, to have something that doesn't take these really, sometimes serious characters very seriously at all. I think that would be really fun. Really, really fun. It kind of takes a little bit of the mick out of it, but, you know, in a loving way. Somebody asked earlier, what's a good movie to watch when you're cleaning? I'm going to say Dude Bro Party Massacre 3, but just because it's got that clean it up, clean it up. Clean it up, clean it up. I love that song. You can call Martin or Anthro.
Okay.
Or Lestat. He responds to it.
Right. And Spooky's asking, Gory, have you seen the 1920s silent film Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with John Barrymore?
I have not seen the silent film, no. I have seen the one that came out during the Universal era. I like that one, but, you know, I need to check that one out. I need to watch more silent films. Very, very cool. Hey! And part of the reason I was thinking of Lego horror, my mother, Nettie Yale, is in the chat, is because my mother is super into Lego. So my mom, she made a Lego cemetery that's got Danny and I in it, and it's also got some zombies. She's made Lego and a Lego Alien Tower. She made us a thing for our house that had Lego Elvira, Lego Jigsaw, Lego Freddy, tons of horror icons in it. But yeah, she's also made us a Lego Joe, Bob, and Darcy.
Awesome.
So yeah, it just made me think, like, how fun would it be to have this Lego movie with just everything, you know, Cujo, Elvira, Critters, everything.
Cujo.
Wouldn't that be great? I think it would be fun. Lego 3, Built for Hell. Very nice. like a movie version of the game Terrordrome, and they don't even necessarily have to fight because it's a Lego movie, so you could really be creative about what the plot of it would be, I think.
And can you imagine, I think, like, Chucky would have the edge, like, in that movie just because he'd be like, oh, these are toys, I'm a toy, so he'd, like, build something, like, really creative.
Yes, and we've seen Chucky appear in other kinds of things like this with Ready Player One.
Mm-hmm.
I marked out so hard for that, and when I saw Freddy in that movie. I really like mashups, you know, where I like to see, like, a lot of everything done in creative ways. Ariel, because...
James Cameron.
James's favorite movie is Roger Rabbit. That's my favorite movie that's not a horror movie is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I quote Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and that and Wayne's World. I quote those two movies daily, as you know.
Yep.
Because you put up with my stupid ass.
For over 12 years.
I know, right? Hashtag Lego Horror. Thank you, Steven.
We have to get that trending.
Also, Steven, I apologize for the longest time. I thought you and Steven from Craven Something Scary were the same person. And I recently realized when watching one of his streams that you're not the same person. So, mind blown. But now I know. And knowing is half the battle. The other half is lasers.
What about sharks with freaking lasers?
Lasers. All right, I have seen The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and I think it is an incredible film. So I'm going to start wrapping it up here pretty soon. Now is the time to throw in your questions that you have for me or Muenster Cheese before we sign off. So I'll give you guys about a few minutes if you want to ask some last-minute questions. We can make it like a fire round. Shoot those questions at us.
With my very limited horror movie.
You got knowledge. You've seen Uninvited. That's all you need to see. That's the movie where the cat puked up a smaller cat.
And it ate people.
It was so good. Well, it bit people and then they died from the poison and then it ruined all their food. Genius.
Because nobody invited that cat.
Nope. But that's my only issue with that movie, is the cat was invited.
He was invited by the one person.
The girl wanted him on the boat, on the yacht. So she asked the crime guy, she asked him, can I bring it on? He said, I don't really want it on, but sure, you can. That is, begrudgingly, an invitation.
It is.
Thus,
invitation by proxy.
I feel like that movie should have been called, like, Hairball.
Yeah. It's better
because it pukes up. Oh, it's so genius. I would love that.
Why has Chucky never been to space? Because he didn't know Elon Musk at the time? I don't know.
I don't know why. I mean, Chucky is a little more grounded in some ways, but then, Friday the 13th started off that way. So I don't know. I think I'd be game to see Chucky go to space. I don't know. I don't know why Chucky hasn't been to space, but it's long overdue.
So speaking of like Chucky going into space, can you imagine like Chucky going up into space and coming across the Buzz Lightyears? Because they're in outer space.
I think
that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think that would be mind-blowing.
Yep. And Arkham Knight wants to know who to contact for GC Movie Club. You can contact Danny, you can contact Gory. I'm not really much on YouTube streaming or anything like that.
Where can they get a hold of you?
Probably,
you're on TikTok.
I'm on TikTok. So
tell them how to find you on TikTok.
So, at Tony Rosa J. I'll put it in the chat here.
Here you go, my friend.
So, this is my TikTok handle.
So you can contact him there. Also, if you contact me, and you guys know how to find me on all the things, it's on the screen there. I will absolutely pass any messages along because I see this guy on the daily. Hmm. Let's see. What else? Have I seen the Witch House films? I have seen a couple of them. I have not seen all of them. Which Disney movie could be remade as a horror flick? The Black Cauldron, for sure.
Like, pretty much all of them, really.
But a lot of them could be. I think a darker Little Mermaid would be really cool.
I think Little Mermaid originally was a horror story.
Well, it's not a horror story, but it is horrific.
It's like a dark fairy tale.
Yeah, a lot of those are based on dark fairy tales, and I 100% think that they could be. But if you're going with the Disney route, I think the Black Cauldron's already pretty scary. That would be a good one to go with.
Snow White was definitely horror-based.
It's got horror elements for sure. My only problem is those movies are so witchist. Why we gotta hate on the witches so much? Why? That's witchist. All right, let's see. What other questions? Horror movie that doesn't have a sequel but needs one. Uninvited.
Uninvited.
I love that movie so much.
We don't know what really happened to the cat.
I know, right? It's a different cat at the end. What the fuck happened?
And it's not even the cat in the cover of the movie.
It's not. It's not. So there's definitely room for a sequel there. More popular horror movie choices that don't have a sequel. Let me think. I think Dead Silence could have used a sequel. You know, puppets. Yeah. You know I love puppets. Yeah. You know I'm a sucker for puppets.
Wasn't there a puppet, like, murder mystery movie or whatever?
Probably.
I can't remember. I think we watched it before. That's a Muppet movie.
All right, let's see. I'm going through these quick questions here.
Hey,
Dice is here. I love Dice. Winnie the Pooh horror. Yes.
So the Pinocchio thing, I think like they did make a horror movie of that. It's called Jaws, because they get eaten by the fish.
Interesting. And I think Pinocchio is actually genuinely, like the part where they turn into donkeys.
Mm-hmm.
That part's actually pretty scary.
And the Pinocchio with Jonathan Taylor Thomas, where he was Pinocchio, that was pretty scary.
Yes, that was so freaky.
It was freaky.
So freaky. And my mom used to be so terrified of Dumbo, like with the heffalumps and woozles. Mm-hmm. My mom used to hate that. The pink elephants. She used to like be terrified of that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Evil pug.
An evil pug horror movie. All right, let's see. What other questions we got?
Favorite animated horror movie?
I'm happy to help you with your hangover anytime, dude. Also, grab a Gatorade. Hydration is so ill.
Hydration water check, everybody.
Favorite animated horror movie? Great question, Razor Rex. Animated horror movie right now of new release ones, Little Vampire. I thought Little Vampire was incredible. It totally felt like a throwback to the animated films of the 80s and 90s, movies like The Last Unicorn, movies like Secret of Nim. Great story, great animation, so much fun. 100% recommend Little Vampire. Other ones, if you can't Watership Down, I think that movie's pretty scary.
Yeah, my favorite animated horror, it would be Blood the Last Vampire.
That's a terrific one. Great pick. Great pick. I'm trying to think of more like actual animated horror movies.
Oh my god, I have to watch this. The Pauly Shore Pinocchio movie.
Oh my god, that sounds horrible.
That sounds like cheesy movie material right there.
That sounds horrible. I did really enjoy it. It's not a movie, but the supernatural anime from the TV show. I thought that was pretty good.
I think they had the voices, they played the voices.
I know there are so many more animated horror movies I love, and I'm drawing a total flipping blank right now. But absolutely, that's a good question for another day that I hope to bring back, because I know there are some ones I really love. But right now, off the top of my head, Little Vampire is what I want to recommend to you guys.
Which horror movie?
Dead Science. Okay, you know, there's another one, Martin. I would love a Malignant crossover. Malignant was my favorite movie of this last year. My favorite ones overall were Last Soho, Malignant, and P.G. Gorman. Loved Malignant, and I will be so sad if we don't get a Malignant sequel. I loved that movie. I thought it was so good. I know a lot of people like to criticize the acting, but I 100% believe that was an intentional choice because it was a throwback to like those Giallo movies, you know, where they were dubbed and the acting wasn't always super great. So I thought it was great. I think it 100% accomplished what it set out to, and it gave us a really inventive, cool new villain that I think everyone wants to see more of.
So which horror movie character would you like to portray?
My mom, Nettie. Say hi to my mom.
Hi, Gory's mom.
Yeah, my mummy. She wants an Antler sequel. I think that's a pretty good idea. We can always use more Guillermo in our lives, guys. Always use more. More Guillermo. Which horror movie character? Oh, you know what? That's another one. They do have a sequel in series form with What We Do in the Shadows, but a sequel to the movie with that group of vampires would be really cool. I love that movie. It's one I watch a lot.
They did Peter dirty.
I know, right?
He was my favorite one, but they had to kill an Nosferatu.
Awesome. Martin, you know where to send me stuff on like Twitter or whatever, so I'd love to see that because that sounds horrible.
Yeah, Ariel, follow me on there at Tony Rosa J.
Austin wants to know, what did I think of Scream 2022? I've got 2 videos on that on my channel. One is a spoiler-free review, and the other one is a spoiler discussion. But in short, I liked it. I didn't love it. I think they needed to focus more on the new characters and explore them a little bit more. And I think the atmosphere was just a little darker than what I want from a Scream movie, where they've always been kind of like, they've always had kind of a John Hughes atmosphere, you know? So, but I liked it. I did like it. I just didn't love it as much as everybody else did. And I'm very excited for the sequel. Ariel has a TikTok account. Ariel, shoot me a link on Twitter. I do not use TikTok yet because I'm old and I'm still figuring it out. But I will.
TikTok
and I will follow you.
So TikTok does not even know how TikTok works. I'm just throwing that out there.
I know, Peter.
Yeah.
Martin, we need to talk some vampire movies one of these days, buddy. Yes, absolutely. Rich Movie Massacre. Yes. Awesome. Much appreciated.
So another movie that should have got a sequel.
What's that?
The Greasy Strangler.
But it ends kind of weird with them, their heads blowing up.
But do they, though?
I kind of wonder, about that. Like, is this kind of a fantasy sequence? Because they went after Ricky Pickles.
Right.
So I wonder if it's kind of like a fantasy type thing. Because that scene was kind of bizarre. But I would just love more. Anything else from that writer is great. Like, you need to see Come to Daddy. Because it's, again, a lot of that humor. It's not as good, I think, as The Greasy Strangler. But it's so good. I just love that movie so much. Austin is hyped for the horror game The Quarry.
Frozen cheese.
Let's see if this works. Let's try refreshing it. Okay, can you guys hear and see us?
Now we're back.
Uh-oh. All right, I'm just going to close this because... All right, so are we back? Are we back?
Yes, they're back. You're on Frozen
now. Okay, good. I'm sorry about that. That was a glitch. I don't know.
It was Skynet.
You know, that freaks me out because my day job is training AI. So I'm just trying to get on the right side of it, dude. I'm trying to get on the right side of it.
So here's the thing. It's like... So I feel like we have, the whole, trifecta, I guess, for, apocalypse scenarios. So, you're programming Skynet. I lived in Florida for how many years? So, a zombie apocalypse was just Tuesday afternoon.
I know, right?
So, if any of that goes down, just join our group, because we're prepared for all scenarios.
We really are.
And
I have that book, How to Survive a Horror Movie.
And, y'all have animals, so...
This book.
If there's ever, a nature run amok scenario...
So I was answering Zygmunt's question before we went offline. My answer to that is, yeah, the allegory details are really fun to make, but they do take a bit longer. It is a lot easier for me to do a real versus real, and I haven't made one of those in forever. Been trying to think of what kind of topics you guys would like to see. One I'm really interested in is the true story of Gustav, the giant killer crocodile who's been in... kind of had a lot of movies based on him, so I was going to pick one of those, and I was thinking about going with Primal. But if there's one you would rather see, please hit me up on Twitter. It has to be a movie that claims to be based on a true story, and then the real versus real video would be me comparing what actually is on account of what happened to what happens in the movie and telling you how true is it, because a lot of times they're not. I've also thought about doing Backcountry, and another one that I reviewed on Horror Addicts, 12 Feet Deep, because I got a lot of flack for being insensitive to the true story that doesn't exist.
Would Lake Placid fall into that?
I don't believe Lake Placid's based on a true story. Well, it doesn't claim to be.
Okay.
It has to be a movie that says this is based on a true story. So there's a lot of those.
I mean, Outbreak, I guess, could be considered part of a true story because there actually is herpes monkeys in Florida.
Right.
Yep. That's a thing.
All right, let's see. Don't blame me, the harsh truth. Dice rolling, that's awesome. Yeah, Primeval, that's the one I'm thinking of. So Primeval, it was interesting because when that movie came out, they were saying the serial killer with the most bodies, and it's a crocodile. It's a giant crocodile that's, I believe, still out there and kills a lot of people. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. The real story is pretty scary. So I thought that would be a really fun one to do, and I just love creature features. So The Town That Dreaded Sun Went Down is a good one to do. Blackwater and Rogue are other croc movies that are inspired by true stories. Yeah, I've looked into a lot of those, trying to figure out which one I want to do. But, yeah, of your crocodile movies based on true stories or alligator movies based on a true story. Let me know which one you guys want to see the most. I haven't done a video like that on Ed Gein because I think for that I'd have to pick a movie that claims to be based on a true story that's based on Ed Gein. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre claims to be based on a true story. I could do that with that. Making sure I got everyone's questions.
Countess Dracula versus the actual historical Elizabeth Bathory.
Oh, Dice wants to know which character would I most want to portray in a horror movie? Which character would I most want to portray? I want to play somebody cool. I want to play...
I think you would play a good Willow.
That'd be cool.
Just because Buffy.
Thank you. I love Buffy. I do love Buffy a lot. A lot. Though, Willow hasn't been in a movie. But Willow is a good one. Who would I most like to portray? I would just love to play like a really cool witch. So something like Practical Magic or like any kind of craft reboot, like Nancy or somebody would be cool. Anything with like playing a witch would be super fun.
If I were to play somebody, I'd probably say Chucky.
Dude, that's awesome.
Just short.
Very cool. Very cool.
And I can be very vulgar when I want to be.
That's true. But funny.
Yes.
Yeah, also, if you guys want to hear a bit more about the real story between Behind Town That Dreaded Sundown, Danny did do a review of that over on Horror Addicts, and he talks a lot about the real story and the movie, and he goes pretty in-depth with it, so absolutely check that one out. And playing Elizabeth Bathory, that's actually a pretty cool one. I wouldn't mind that. Like, something cool. Yeah. I don't know, though. A lot of the vampire stuff, like, I don't know if I have the right vibe. But playing a witch would be cool.
Or I could probably play Morbius better than
Jared
Leto.
So Gustav died in 2019. Well, I still think it would be cool to kind of explore how much of the movie is real. Love Witch was cool. Gory, I should play Ben and Willard, because I feel like Ben and I have a lot in common. I don't know. What do you think? That's awesome.
How would I want to be killed off in a movie? No, that's a good one because there's been so many cool deaths. I would have to say like a death kind of like in Sukiyaki Western Django, which is like a really like cheesy Japanese Western. It's as cheesy as it sounds. But like at the end of it, the sheriff like he gets a crucifix thrown in the back of him and like impales him. Like I would want to go out like that.
I think in a horror movie, I would want to die by something bursting out of my body, like an alien.
Yeah. I mean, like the crucifix does burst out of his chest.
That's rad, dude.
Yeah. And then he's like, he doesn't die right away. He's just like, what the hell?
Austin wants to know, who is your favorite horror movie killer? I'm going with Chucky.
I go with Chucky also.
I love Chucky so much. It's my favorite slasher franchise. I love Chucky.
But actually, if I were to pick a like, now that we're talking like slashers, I would say the Terminator.
That's cool.
Because the Terminator is a slasher movie. Just like all high tech.
I agree.
Hocus Pocus.
Ooh, Helena Marcos from Suspiria. That is a good one. Death by Snoo Snoo. That's Danny's answer.
Did I watch the trailer for the new trailer?
Angeline? We can watch it after this.
So, I actually don't watch a lot of TV or TV shows.
Yeah, guys, Hocus Pocus is a hard one because I watched that movie way before I even became a practicing witch. It is a little witchist. But, Kathy Najimy's character in that's one I'd love to play in a movie. I do think it's a lot of fun. I think it's having fun with it. And I do feel like the witches are... My biggest problem is not that the witches are villains. It's when they're not really treated as characters, where it's just like, well, they're witches, that's why they're evil. The witches do have a reason for killing children. So it's not as bad as some other ones where it's just... The explanation is just that they're witches, like in The Conjuring.
Yeah, like, I feel like Hocus Pocus, it was just meant to be more of a... Like a parody of witches. Like, they didn't really feel like witches to me rather than a parody of witches.
Yeah, it's like, campy fun,
right.
And I'm really looking forward to Hocus Pocus 2 coming out this year.
But they also, like, they touched on one of like the pressures of like being a teenage boy, where they're like, haha, he's a virgin. That's why the candle, you know, like,
Yeah.
And that was like the whole like plot of the movie. Was
Yeah.
Because he was a virgin, he lit the candle, and they're making fun of him for it, and that's why he.
I do like it. And absolutely in the book they did a even better job of exploring the characters. And I think there's even more room to expand on that with Hocus Pocus 2. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. But I do love that movie. I own that movie. I watch the movie a lot. The Movie Massacre Show, my buddy Rich wants to know, favorite final guy, 100% Ash from Evil Dead.
Would the Scream guy be considered a final guy?
Which one? It has to be a survivor of the movie. Like a hero, not a killer.
Okay.
But you could say Dewey.
Officer Doofy.
Officer Dewey. There you go. That's a good one. Alrighty. Now how long have we been streaming? An hour and a half. All right.
So
Danny's working on a witch movie.
So, just going back to the whole like Hocus Pocus witch thing, I would like to see the Hocus Pocus witches go into Halloween Town. Because you have the good witches there, because they're all like the good witches, and like just what would happen if the Sanderson sisters went to Halloween Town?
Movie Massacre asks if the Hocus Pocus 2 book is the second movie. I don't believe it's going by the book at all, but I wouldn't be surprised if they borrow elements from it. But I'm curious. I actually don't know for sure. So if you guys do know, let me know. Ash is awesome. Jesse from Nightmare on Elm Street is a very good one. I do like that movie a lot. Alrighty, well, are you ready to wrap it up, my friend?
I am.
Alright, guys, well, you know where to find Tony. He is over on TikTok. And what is your @ again on TikTok?
Tony Rosa J, all one word.
You guys can find me. There's, it's Gory B Movie on all of the places. Thank you guys for watching. I had a lot of fun hanging out with you. Thank you for hanging out with me.
Thanks for having me on board.
Great questions, great conversation, and I'm going to try to make this a regular thing. I'm thinking it might be Saturdays at this time next week. So 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to try to make Horror Hangouts a regular thing because I just like hanging out with you guys. You guys are good people. So,
stay cheesy.
And until we meet again, blessed be.